Yes, sirs. What is going on, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice Pacers. Guys, the Indiana Pacers have finally finished off the Eastern Conference Finals. Your Eastern Conference champions are the Indiana Pacers. Send the Knicks packing for the second straight year in the playoffs, winning in game 6 by a final score of 125 to 108. And for the first time in 25 years, Cody, the Indiana Pacers are heading back to the NBA Finals. That's wild, because considering the fact that you and I were measly little children the last time that this organization found itself in the position that it is in now, I mean, this is got to be one of the best feelings for the Indiana sports franchise here in quite some time.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this was obviously a massive game because of what happened a couple nights ago, and just frankly, the utter embarrassment that you suffered and just the completely off night that you had, right? And really the worst you've looked in a long time. So, yeah, you definitely needed a response. You needed this team to come out. You needed them to fire on all cylinders. You needed them to be, the dominant team tonight. And like you said, like Indiana really, I mean, from the start, they really, as the game went on, they just continued to show up in massive ways. And, like you also said, first time in 25 years, the Pacers are headed to the NBA Finals. Ironically enough, against the Knicks again. So, yeah, just crazy stuff, dude, and a long time coming for Pacers fans and a real chance to compete for a championship here. And, just some crazy awesome stuff, man. And, we were texting a little bit earlier. We would have never thought, man, at the start of this year, like we knew the Pacers were going to be competitive, but if there's just something to be said, man, about saying you are headed to the NBA Finals. There's just something about that. You are one of the top two teams in the entire NBA right now with a chance to be the best team in the NBA.
Yep, 100%. And, I've been saying it really for the last 2 months that this team just feels like it's destiny. And especially in these playoffs, the way that the Indiana Pacers have won some of the games that they have won. I mean, it's truly stuff that like you make documentaries about. And no doubt that this is one of the best seasons that the Indiana Pacers have ever had come through this building, and fans of all ages getting to witness it. But obviously the job's not finished. You still have an NBA Finals to go to. Obviously you're going to enjoy tonight and, enjoy tomorrow a little bit. But, weekend's over. Got to get back to the grindstone because you only got a couple of days. And then you're going to Oklahoma City to, as you said, face the best team in the NBA this year, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have clearly shown that. And, this is just two young teams, Cody, that are hungry, and both teams looking for their first NBA championship of their modern franchises. So, I mean, this is definitely going to be a huge moment for both of these franchises. I mean, it's truly a different look than what we have seen in recent years, but no doubt that it's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the two hottest teams since January. I mean, both these teams have been on fire. Both these teams have been virtually unstoppable. And really, both these teams have kind of mowed through their conferences, right? Both these teams have, really have won in 6 or less in pretty much every game. So this is going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm very excited to see what happens. Two young stars in Tyrese Halliburton and, Gilgeous-Alexander as well. And just going to be so excited for this series, because I do think there's going to be a lot of fireworks here. Both these teams can shoot the lights out of the basketball. Both these teams are fun to watch, and I'm just really looking forward to this series in general. And, I've heard a lot about people saying oh, this is terrible for the NBA. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think this is exactly what the NBA needs, man. You need some of these teams that aren't these giant markets showing that they can compete too, right? I think that's what we love so much about the NFL is because there is a lot more parity, right? There is a lot of, I don't care what size, your state is or what size your city is. If you do things the right way, you can compete year in and year out. And it's just nice to see not the typical teams we're used to, not the big market teams in there. So it's just a refreshing finals. I'll say that.
Yeah, two young teams that run fast, play really freaking hard, and it's not led by LeBron James or some other really old name that's been in the NBA for 15 years and doing it for that long, right? It's just going to be a lot of fun, and no doubt the Thunder open up as very big favorites. Cody, they had them as a minus 750 early odds on ESPN to win the NBA Finals. It's the largest betting odds for a potential champion since the 2018 Golden State Warriors, back when Kevin Durant was on that Golden State team. So, it's been a hot minute, and it's clear that the Thunder are the better team right now, but I mean, there's plenty more that the Pacers can do. And, we'll talk about that for another video, but we're going to savor this moment right now talking about this game. And Cody, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of it you actually watched. Do you watch the whole thing?
I didn't watch the whole thing. No, I actually watched really the second half a lot more. Really was out, wasn't able to watch a ton of the first half, but I knew it was fairly close throughout. And then kind of Indiana went on a run. And I know then, the Knicks brought it back. And then really from there, it was all Indiana.
Yeah, it was really a back and forth the entire first half. Nobody really showing anything. And then Indiana came out the gate really early in the second half. And, they built that early lead and, a lot of great things there. And obviously the defense of the Indiana Pacers got to the Knicks a lot more than what they let on. But obviously this team built up a third quarter and even into the fourth quarter lead, and they just never looked back. That basically is what it came down to. Looking at the stats here, I kind of said before this, Cody, and I said that it felt like it was the backwards version of Game 5. Where the energy was in Madison Square Garden for the Knicks. There just wasn't a lot of energy for the Pacers, at least not after the first quarter. And they didn't shoot the ball well, and things just didn't go well. Now, it was obviously a lot of energy in Cambridge today, and the Knicks, they were going back and forth with the Pacers in the first half. And then once the Pacers came out in that second half and they just started shooting the lights out, it just felt like the Knicks just lost their wind a little bit. And it's very evident from the stats. The Pacers shooting 54% versus 48% for the Knicks tonight. 3-point percentage wise, this is crazy. The Knicks only shooting 28% tonight from three, so very bad odds. Pacers shooting 51.5% from three with about the same number of threes. So definitely a spark for the Indiana Pacers tonight. One of the crazy aspects too, Cody, the New York Knicks shooting only 65.5% from the free throw line. They were bad from the free throw line today. That has not been the case all series. The Knicks have usually been the better free throw shooting team than the Pacers all series long. And tonight, the Pacers actually shooting 84% instead. So almost a 20% difference there. You left 9 points off the board for the Knicks. Got to imagine, too, if you had those 9 points, especially down the stretch, how much that could have impacted the game.
Oh, yeah. That's why usually I feel like the teams that hit their free throws are typically the teams that take care of business because those add up after a while. Like you said, a miss here, a miss there, and then that's 9 points you're leaving. right there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That was a huge thing. And it's weird because I feel like the Knicks have typically shot it pretty well from the free throw line. So it's a little bit off brand for them, but it came at a great time for Indiana, obviously. And, you had guys that traditionally were making them and pretty darn good that were missing them tonight. So, but Indiana, again, Derek, they had a couple poor performances from the free throw line early, but it feels like in some of these games recently, the Pacers have been able to actually do a lot better job from that line and hitting some of these free throws they should be making. So that's definitely a great thing there. And I mean, really, Derek, it felt like from really when, the Knicks brought it within 7, really after that, it was all Indiana. I mean, the Knicks didn't have a chance. They didn't have a prayer. Bringing it to 7 was the closest they got in that second half. I mean, honestly. So
Yeah.
after the Pacers went on that run. So, yeah, I mean, just an absolutely dominant performance all the way around. You mentioned just the defense. I got a freaking shout out, man. Andrew Nemhard and his defense tonight on Jalen Brunson again.
Yep.
I mean, this dude's locked down. He is out, like Brunson's going to get his, and he did tonight. I mean, he's every night he's good for 20 plus points, and actually he only had 19 tonight, Derek.
Yeah, I know. He was actually the third highest score on the Knicks today, and 19 points, Cody. Like for a lot of players, you would take that, but for Jalen Brunson, you see that number, and you're like, oh my gosh, Jalen Brunson was god awful if he's only
on
getting
18
19
attempts too.
We see him get 40 or 45 on the daily against most.
He only had one more point than he had free or field goal attempts in this game. 19 points, 18 field goal attempts in this game.
Yep.
So if that tells you anything right there, I tell you, man, they were playing like it was like you said, it was like the complete opposite. Like Brunson was doing whatever he wanted a couple of days ago, and then in this game, he's not doing anything. It's just kind of crazy how that just kind of went back and forth.
Shout out to Nemhard and Naismith, man. You gotta.
Yeah,
it takes some special athletes to be able to play defense against a player like him, given the state of the NBA and how it is. And you're right, Nemhard and Naismith, man, they have the toughest job out there on the court guarding that guy, and to be able to put him in a blender like that and make his night hell. I mean, that's a special performance.
He was getting visibly just flustered. You could see it. He was so mad. Like, he was so upset because they were playing him
headbutted them hard. You see that?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, well, fine, whatever. Like, if he's going to throw – like, he already throws his head back enough, dude. It's like, well, he's
decided to throw it forward this time.
Yeah.
At them hard.
It's just like, okay, I guess that's what we're resorting to now because we're down that bad. But yeah, I mean, really the defensive performance all the way around, I thought was just spectacular tonight. And you really didn't let anybody go off like you've let before. You didn't have the Brunson 40 or the Karl Anthony Towns 35 and 10 rebounds or whatever it was. Really, I think the 3 stars for the Knicks, you really held them in check tonight for the most part with Brunson Anunoby and Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, Anthony Towns is just, he just drives in every time, and it's pretty much an automatic at this point. But,
yeah,
I mean, all that to say, he still was not good tonight. He was 8 of 19. So,
yeah,
he's been pretty money recently.
Overall, and 6 of 10 from the free throw line too, Cody. That's abnormal. You very rarely see a cat free throw miss this series, and for him to miss 4 free throws. And Cody, he had more free throws tonight than the rest of the starting lineup combined. Jalen Brunson only had 2 free throws today. Isn't that wild? That is why we won this game. Nemhard was capable of guarding Brunson and not letting him go to the free throw line. That was the key thing of it.
That's insane, dude. That's insane. Just the defense overall, they were locked down. I honestly think, Derek, this was their best defensive performance against the Knicks the entire series. And it came at the perfect time in a closeout type of game. They needed it. Absolutely. Every single defensive possession, they needed it, man. No doubt.
And obviously, from a perspective of the scoring, Landry Shamet, the only one that really did anything offensively off their bench. He had 12 tonight, but, played 16 minutes. But That's only 16 minutes versus, Mitchell Robinson had 8 tonight for the starters, but, they just didn't get any help offensively off their bench. And especially in game 5, Cody, they had some great help off their bench. Shamit was clutch in game 5. McBride was hitting some. Hart only had 4 points tonight. I mean, and they just didn't have an answer when their starters were already struggling shooting the ball consistently, at least from Karl Anthony Towns and Brunson's perspective. But when you do that and then your bench doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form, that's tough, for a team like the Indiana Pacers that, just again can go 8, 9, 10 deep on you. And they showed that tonight too. Everyone in the starters for the Pacers got into double digits today. You had 2 of them off the bench that had double digits tonight. And I before we talk about the rest of the individual stats, just want to say congratulations to Thomas Bryant, who came in clutch today. I was wondering, because Cody, I didn't get to watch this game. I watched like the final 5 minutes when the game was practically over at that point. I was hearing people talking about Thomas Bryant, and like Siakam said, congrats to TB. Everybody talking about Thomas Bryant, what he did. I'm like, he must have done something interesting to get everybody to kind of be talking about him. And then I look at the stats, 13 minutes tonight, 11 points, and 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. So, and 2 of 2 from the free throw line as well. Had a big time block. So, I mean, this was the biggest game for Thomas Bryant maybe in this entire playoffs. I know that 11 points doesn't really seem like a lot, but for Cody, for someone like Thomas Bryant, who the last couple series has gotten extremely limited minutes, he had to go out there, when Jarris Walker went down with injury and a bunch of other things.
Well, Tony Bradley didn't even play in this game, really.
Yeah, Tony Bradley didn't play, so he had to come in and, be a presence, and he was.
Yep, he was. I mean, you needed him, absolutely, because you found out about the injury, and even though he was available, they obviously elected to go with Bryant, and, I mean, Thomas Bryant, we even saw in this series, like Thomas Bryant played a lot, I think in like game 1 and maybe even a little bit of game 2, and then he kind of just slowly has gotten phased out through the course of this series. So, yeah, good for him, man. I'm glad that he came in and was able to be very efficient for Indiana. And, to shout out to Thomas Bryant. Great performance for him tonight. You mentioned it, 11 points. He had 3 rebounds. He had a key block in this game as well. And you love to see that for a guy like Thomas Bryant. Hopefully can get his confidence back up. If you need him again, he can perform, in those limited minutes and just make the most of his opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna need to definitely have him there. Cody, I want to get your reaction to this. Pascal Siakam winning the Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were like, wow, no Tyrese Halliburton in that regard. Again, for some of the performances that Tyrese Halliburton put on display this series, in multiple games this series, he was the one that was, putting the team on his back. And yet Siakam was the one to get the award. Obviously finished tonight 31 points in 36 minutes, shot 60% from the floor, had a couple rebounds, some assists, had a steal and 3 blocks tonight. Cody, I'm not going to sit here and say whether I understand why people want Tyrese Halliburton to have won that award. What we saw him do in game 1, what we saw him do in game 4, what we saw him do and what we saw obviously tonight at the end of the game, he came in clutch in some of the biggest of moments. But I mean, I understand why Siakam won it because consistently, Cody, he's been there every single game. He was averaging 23, 24 points a game this series, which is even better than what Halliburton was doing by a long shot. I mean, what's your reaction to Halliburton not winning the award?
I was all right with it because Halliburton's been a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde during this series at times. Like, we saw him go a couple games ago, one of the best performances you'll see from an Indiana Pacer, the 32, 12, and 15.
Yep.
And then the next night go for 8, 2, and 6. So it's been very up and down for Tyrese
Yes.
this series. Like
Yep.
he's had a couple of those games where he kind of just gets very, I don't know the term. I guess he gets very, very passive at times when it comes to like attacking the rim.
Some games he's all the way up here, and then the next game he can be down here.
Yeah, exactly. But like Pascal Siakam, even though not every game has been like great, like Siakam realistically, 3 of the games, Pascal Siakam had over 30 points and almost had 40 in one game. He should have probably had that.
Yeah.
So I think from a scoring standpoint, Pascal Siakam is the MVP because he's been a lot more consistent of a scorer and just an overall, I think, player consistency wise than Tyrese has been. Now, Tyrese has made more of the splash, spectacular plays for sure, and that's what everybody likes to point to. But I think it makes sense that Pascal Siakam would get this. I would have given it to either guy, but I think Siakam's just been a little bit more consistent from 1 to 6 here.
It was really hard to just. I think for a lot of people, Cody, I think what kind of set a lot of people off, and especially in the NBA community, like you saw again in that game 4, when he put up numbers that no other player, very few players have ever done in NBA playoff history. And then the next game to just look like an average guard, like at best in that game, like pedestrian at most. And like it's off putting. It is. And it's always been the biggest problem. And it's one of the main reasons why a lot of people are so hesitant to call Halliburton a superstar, because, superstars don't have games like that a lot. They don't disappear in some games like that. And unfortunately, at times, Halliburton, because of how the Pacers play their game of basketball, Halliburton is not asked to carry the load. And when he doesn't, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. And they lost in that fashion. And again, I'm not going to sit here and justify one way or the other. I don't think Tyrese Halliburton really cares. I don't think the team really cares who got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I think they're all just glad to, be in this situation where they get a chance to go to the finals for the first time in 25 years. Because in 10, 15 years, nobody's going to remember who the Eastern Conference Finals MVP was. But right. Indiana Pacers fans will definitely remember this season and what Halliburton and Siakam have both done for this team.
Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. Yeah, who cares? I mean, this is the ultimate team, right? This is the guys that they don't care about the recognition, really. Like, they just want to win. And so I really think it doesn't really matter to them, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, man, overall, just fired up. I mean, I'm exhausted because it's been a long day, but I really am. Like, this was a game like you were just like, okay, this is going to be a massive one for Indiana. If they don't take care of business, all of a sudden you're heading back to the Garden for a Game 7, and you already just got smacked at, a couple days ago in there. So you got to take care of business. And I tell you what, man, how great was it? I know we had a couple people that we knew at this game. Like, it was amazing to watch just Pacers fans all over, Pacers fans in the stadium, just being able to celebrate. I mean, when's the last time that we've been able to do that? It's been a while. Indiana sports doesn't necessarily always have all that, So, yeah, you'll take them when they come, man. And this Indiana team, they are definitely special. And, it's just been awesome to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it has been a phenomenal stretch here. And, it's funny, too, because I was saying it on Twitter, like you and I have, only really been like actively following the Indiana Pacers for the last couple years. And, we've never really been much of Pacers fans before this. little journey that we've started on covering this team. But, again, for other people who have been fans of this team for a long time, and, that the last 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years watching this team, and then to be able to see what the Indiana Pacers have accomplished. Again, job isn't done, but it definitely is reminiscent of just how hard this team has, worked. And, people have not given the Pacers their fair credit. But, this is a team, Cody, that, if you keep this unit together, if you can keep Siakam, you can keep Halliburton, you keep Naismith and Nembhard around, and you keep a bunch of people around here for the next couple years. I mean, this is an Indiana Pacers team that can definitely keep doing this because of how they play their game of basketball. I mean, just not much more to really say about it, man. I mean, this was just really awesome, and it's been emotional, and it's sure going to be more emotional for this Pacers team and this fan base going forward as they try to win their first NBA Finals.
No doubt. No doubt. It's exciting, dude. It's exciting to see an Indiana team start to get some love, some much, much needed. And like you said, no, everybody wrote off the Pacers. It was always, Bucks in 6, Cavs in 5,
Knicks
Knicks
in
in
6.
4, Knicks in 5. It's like,
Yep.
Well, here we are, man. Only one more series stands between you and a championship, your first championship. And so it's so exciting, dude. I can't even put it into words. Like, I cannot believe this team from when we started covering them over a year and a half ago, about just to see the growth of this group. It's been truly awesome to see. I mean, really, a lot of this core they have now really wasn't intact. It hasn't been intact for that long. So it's kind of cool to see really, the start from Tyrese Halliburton, and from there, what you've been able to build. It's been really, really special.
Yeah. And, again, I want to take one final shout out, and we can end this thing, for Miles Turner. I know this series has not been friendly to Miles Turner. He has had his issues, and, we're going to have to discuss that going forward, because obviously he's looking for a new deal this offseason. Some hard conversations that might need to be had about, what Turner deserves and all these other things. But it is wild, Cody, because again, he's the last remaining player from that Paul George era. The last time that the Indiana Pacers fan base felt like they had a shot of going to the NBA Finals. I mean, he's been with this team for about a decade now, and he's finally getting the chance to go to an NBA Finals. I mean, it's got to feel surreal for Miles Turner, who has stuck it out here in Indiana for a decade.
You got to love those guys, man, that just stick it through. I mean, from the good and the bad, when this team was awful, when this team was picking in the top 5 to now. I mean, it just, very special shout out to Miles Turner for all he's been through, the different systems, all the guys he's seen come and go in the last 10 years. It's truly special to see guys like that who are so loyal, who stick around, who are consistent, and, just love where they're at. So, yeah, absolutely. Miles Turner deserves all the love.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that'll do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts. The Indiana Pacers headed to the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. It's going to be a fun one, guys. Let us know your thoughts. Thank you so much. And as always, go Pacers.